I gotta go, Ramona. Please.
Now? Couldn't you have gone before we left?
Oh.
Team Naventic, who came in, had a 3-0 victory over B-Step on Friday, now sits 0-2 rather, to No Tomorrow. It's a rough place for them to be in, and as we know with Team Naventic, there have been times where they get that far behind, and it's irrecoverable for them mentally.
Yeah, it very much is, and now we get to test it. You know, do they have the strength? Have they found the tools? They've got the family. They claim they are the best of friends. They always get along. When your back is against the wall, that's the best time to test it. Do we see a crumbling version of Naventic here in this game, or a strengthened version, knowing that everything's on the line? Because this, again, statistically, at least standings-wise, is going to be their most even matchup, their best odds of getting a win.
There were several times, though, in Part 1 where Naventic did show that they had the possibility of being able to come back. One great example was versus Tempo Storm. Can they do it here, though? We're heading into the Battleground pool again, and let's see. It's Dragonshire.
Every time, man. Love that. My goodness, I'm sorry. I get so hyped whenever we get new juicy stuff like that.
I'm hyped that they waited. They didn't jump out the gates with Dragonshire.
Yeah, they waited it out. The comfort. All right, so if you guys have never watched a No Tomorrow game, they're the only team in North America that picks Dragonshire consistently. So the fact that they, for the first time in a long while, didn't just go, we're going Dragonshire right out the gates. They've got 2 wins, and then on game number 3,
ooh,
I mean, that is the sweet, sweet execute moment.
Spicy.
It's just, you've got the ball, you lobbed it up, bam, nail it. This is what No Tomorrow was looking for. This situation, if they were going to stand a shot against Naventic, and right now, it is looking good. I'm sorry, I was sick the past 2 days, still a little sick right now, so I'm just hyped that I feel like a human being and get to talk about the video game.
It's exciting. It's exciting stuff. I am also hyped because I feel like we're figuring things out.
Slowly?
Too. We came in Friday, we were like, what is...
I know some of these.
No.
I know what these characters are, but I
Yes.
don't understand anything that's happening on the screen.
They do together.
Yeah, so like, it's just like, how does this happen every time? I don't get it. All right, so Zarya banned out. Tassadar is going to be the expected character removed here. I don't think there was any reason really to risk it here. We also do not have the overlay currently, but we know that the team who chose the map was No Tomorrow. So that, in fact, ban was by No Tomorrow there. Here we go. First pick, is it the Mouth? Is it the Dahaka? It's going to be neither of those because every time I posture which one they're going to pick, they always say, not today, Dread. Not today. Got him. They're going with the other global. It's going to be the Falstad. Priority just whirlwinding around, boys.
Falstad picked for Team Naventic, wanting to make sure that not all the globals go over to No Tomorrow, because any team that gets Dahaka Falstad rotation on Dragonshire, it is terrifying for the other team. They feel like they're on the clock. Because once you get Epic Mount, Apex Predator, you are relegated to hanging out in mid lane a lot to try to keep your opponents from getting the Dragon Knight, because you just cannot keep a hold of the shrines.
What I think is really interesting with the lower drop of Malfurion, just a smidge, it's only a hair did he drop in priority, is his only nerf was on his mana regen and then his 16. And his 16 was already fallen out of favor in the North American scene. Tenacious Roots was nerfed and received more.
Is it because Lucio is enough of another option?
That it drops the priority of him? Yeah, probably. That's a really good point you bring up. That it's not we have the only one who is way above everything. But then if that's true, then wouldn't Lucio become higher to the rest? Because the lack of Lucio and his fluctuation says that that's not the case.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll figure it out one day. One draft at a time.
Yes, that is how we figure out the NA meta. I think that's how sometimes the teams are figuring out the NA meta. We've talked about it. Not everybody scrims everybody else, right?
Yeah.
So we come in with these mini metas that have happened between teams who scrim together a lot. You never know.
So we have the Falstad. Malfurion has been picked up. The Tychus, Naventic. Who do they want? Johanna and Zebo are my first things that come to mind if it comes in this rotation. There's one. There's the other.
Don't say it.
I'm not going to say
Don't say it.
I'm not going to say anything. All I'm going to say is that Naventic right now is showing to be, we criticize Freedom as the most stubborn team when it comes to drafting and adjustments from Part 1 and Part 2. But right now, Naventic has about 2 compositions that look like they think that they work.
But is it more stubborn? Is it more stubborn if you adapt to new comfort picks, but then stick with that, or to stick with the old ones of part 1?
Probably the old ones. Yeah, the fluctuation and adjustments of any level is less stubborn overall. On the scale of stubborn, I would know because I've built it right now, right here. And so where are we going to go in this secondary ban? Dahaka, if they don't want to pick up the Dahaka on the side of No Tomorrow, this is the place where you remove it 100%. Instead, it's going to be the Arthas, knowing that the JoJo Arthas has been such a crutch here for Naventic.
Looking at No Tomorrow's previous draft versus Tempo Storm on Dragonshire, I like the Falstad takeaway from Team Naventic too, because No Tomorrow did highly prioritize Falstad. So we are starting to see some of that inter-team meta between the two develop.
Naventic has to consider if they want to rid of Dahaka as well. Yeah, so that is going to leave the top lane to kind of be free reign right now. Nobody has an overly dominant top laner. One that we could see out of No Tomorrow, though we saw it in game number 1, could be the Leo. There is no warrior picked up whatsoever. And as a nice young Heroes of the Dorm player would say, pick Rick. I love that phrase more than anything in the world.
They did too, so much they changed their name to it.
Yeah. But no, the Leoric as a soul lane, once you remove Dahaka, is very, very strong. But he does need to be ran into a double warrior. Not into one, but with one. He cannot run as the soul, and he works really good into a double. And so far, Naventic has pretty much only played double warrior, so it would be a safe bet here if you're No Tomorrow.
Casanova played Leoric on Tomb, so it is a one that they feel comfortable with a hero. So they could get Muradin for
Love
Arrow.
it.
Do they get it right here?
I think you
Yeah.
do.
At this point, Naventic already has their range.
Okay, they go with the KT.
Okay.
Kel'Thas is going to be able to help the Muradin, Malfurion, Gravity Lapse combo. It's a lot of what we saw in the last game, but more effective, a lot safer. Insane amount of wave clear into the 4-man. Everything about this is just fine and dandy. And then they can flex the top laner, the solo laner, if they want. Now with that last pick, reserving that. So, it's probably even safer than Leoric, because then if Naventic want to pick that, they could try and pick a counter to it. But honestly, with the limited amount of Ragnaros that exists in the North American scene currently, there aren't very many people that can really match into Leo well. Like Sonya just kind of like, Leoric throws the Drain Hope, and then Sonya goes, I'm going to spin on the wave, and he's like, fine, I'm going to smash my wave with my axe, and then you both go, oh, that was fun. And you trade relatively even.
Do you really think that Leo has an axe?
I mean, what is it? It's a huge. It's like got like.
I shouldn't have even brought it up.
Yeah, because now somebody's gonna tell you that you're the worst person in the world for not studying medieval weaponry. Like
and last time, Johanna, we got in so much trouble.
For
I think
calling
it was
it a
Morning
mace?
Star. I think it is a mace for Leo.
It's a mace.
I'm gonna put it out there.
He has the mace.
I'm gonna confidently say.
All right.
Leo uses a mace.
All right. Well, there goes the Ragnaros. So that is gonna be the top lane here for Naventic. 4-man sticking between Naz, JoJo, Foul, and Rhaegar. I still like Leoric. I think it works pretty well into this composition, especially with the KT lock-in. Whenever you pick Leoric, you just want somebody who you know can bank damage onto the Entomb without risking their positioning, because oftentimes when you do Entomb, the team funnels behind, and it's a really easy counterplay. But if the opponents have, or your allies have such significant range, it's very easy for you to just drop it and be comfortable with the positioning. Muradin's not worried about that because his health pool's so high. Malf just needs to make sure he doesn't go too crazy. But Odin is perfect. KT is awesome. And now it just goes, what else are you going to put up there? Other than, I feel like I'm missing something big, just not Artanis. That's all I hope for. Just not Artanis.
Although they played a lot of it, I don't think I'll do that. Anub Barak.
Anub is a solo. I do love Anub Barak. In general, I've talked about how I think he's so impactful in games, especially into a player or a character like Nazebo, any type of mages. But he's a placeholder. He's like the Tyrael of top lanes. It's not that he's good at it, but he's not bad. He's not going to die into the matchup very well. Like he can do well with a bit of barbs. You get a bit of clear. Your bugs do well. You have the self-shielding. But he isn't like the terror of people like the Sonya, the Leorics, the Ragnaroses.
Is there any possibility that Tychus lanes top instead, and then you have Anub Barak who is able to provide... You've got 4 people with crowd control options.
I mean, you could You could, but again, it hits you have to hit the right power spike, then also how susceptible you are to ganks. Now we have to consider
Falstad.
Yeah, and then the Falstad gank potential is way too high on the other
Yeah.
side. You want the safest person in that lane as you possibly can. Also, there's a huge difference in the map layout between Dragonshire and Tomb of the Spider Queen that those of you at home might not know is that the reason you solo on bottom on Tomb is because the way that the wave from the mid lane actually goes to the top lane, you can't flank behind the lane. So if you play at the halfway point, nobody's going to ever get behind you. On Dragonshire, there's a beautiful little shrub where you just flank right behind them. Nobody can do anything to stop it, and you are going to die. It's a lot easier to die in the top lane than is on Dragonshire than is the bottom lane of Tomb.
Well, we're ready for game number 3. Let's see if No Tomorrow closes it out or if Team Naventic can take us to game 4.
The double warrior of Murden and Nubarak. Oftentimes when you are looking for double warriors, what is the most effective? It always comes down to the amount of CC they have, the mobility they both have, and then also the damage output. And so Murden is a little bit weaker in the damage, but the fact that they have double mobility is absolutely insane. For instance, you know, looking at Tyrael in the past, in compositions where he was successful, was only in times where he had a damage dealer with him that could initiate equally with him, providing 2 threats at once, making it a lot harder to have a counter response from your opponent. So Murden and Noob are perfect. They have so much lockdown. They have a decent amount of damage, but it's the mobility that 2 provide. That's why you could see like that zoning in the last game onto Lunar just by themselves, because both can just freely go, oh, this was a bad idea, and we're out.
Yeah, not only that, but later on they do have a lot more damage, especially Murden if he goes for Give Him the Axe at level 16. They have so much crowd control options for this composition specifically too that he has a lot of potentials of proccing that particular talent too. So it could get scary, but Team Naventic, again, they have a global. That's going to be key for them. They have good late game scaling too. I mean, you look at Nazebo, he's a monster. Ragnaros, once he gets Giant Scorcher, can chunk down a lot of the health bars, especially for warriors. Kael'thas gets taken out in the first blood.
Zuno with that max range meteor ends up getting the kill here. Also, we need to look at, when it comes to the Ragnaros and the falling out of him, the one thing that we knew even in his prime that you needed with this root hit, not without 4. No way around. Ken is found out, though. Not going to land the Stormbolt. The root's already been used too. He should not make it out of here. The nade doesn't land. So many jukes, but the body blocks. Jason, the flight from Big Impact. That looks like they're going to get this here. Urho Dwarf tosses around the Condemn. Zoning root there, 1 for 1. But Kenma buying so much time, the team had some answers. The body blocks, the dream here.
Oh, Casanova takes tower shots,
Got
but
him.
Gravity Lapse in the end almost gets Zuna, but Big Impact is carrying a backpack right now.
He is
He's
just
everywhere.
the janitor, man. He's cleaning up everything. You need me in the
He's
bottom
seasoned
lane?
marksman too.
Yeah. He's not even laning, and he's being able to make these plays. You know, that's typically what you see on the season marksman fall set. So Big Impact here doing, you know, aptly named, I guess.
What, you guys need a kill? Here it comes!
I've got it. I had a talking point before that. Completely forgot it. Just, you know, standard.
This is
This
the double
happens.
warrior? No, it was Ragnaros.
It was the Ragnaros, the prime setup of the Ragnaros. Oh man, Urho, that pullback. My Cosmos Life, Tiger JK doesn't have enough heals, I don't think. The shields are there, blinded. Jason's going to have to back away. So we need somebody to prep the Sulfurous Smash, and Blessed Shield's not that great. It's not bad, but the Condemn. So Zuna needs to perfectly follow up to Big Impact when he hits a big Condemn. He didn't take the cooldown at 4. It's not a very common talent, but it's one you can take to gain some leeway when you need somebody to set up an initiation with Johanna. So it's really going to be all on B-Kid and Zuna to be making the plays and justify that pick here.
Yeah, especially with the 20 extra seconds hitting the cooldown. Once again, Arrow's going to Dwarf Toss. B-Kid trying to stop it with his Condemn. Casanova burrows in, doesn't catch, but the Gravity Lapse will. Talking Drew's in trouble. Hit by a Hammering. Kael'thas once again goes back to the Hall of Storms.
This is the second time that it looks like No Tomorrow has all the right decisions, but just the skill shots aren't there to back it up. You know, it's been a bit of a whiff session here for the first couple of minutes on this map for No Tomorrow. They have the thought process there, which debatably might be more important.
Yeah, once the ability started hitting before, B-Kid's gonna stop. Oh, Arrow does not stop it in time. Dragon Knight picked up by Big Impact, first Dragon Knight of the game. But yeah, I mean, on Battlefield of Eternity, once it was figured out, you know, No Tomorrow was trying to figure out what the correct composition would be of those stuns. Once they figured it out, they started to do a lot of damage.
Big Impact here with the Dragon Knight. It's very early on. It's not going to get much done. Urho willing to wear that punt away. He can flank on top of Zuna, though, up on top now. We'll see if he ends up getting that gank with that rotation. Zuna's in a bad spot, so it looks like he may fall, but Murden slowed in rotation. He's actually anchoring out of fear there, so a possible kill lost on No Tomorrow. Just the lack of information that Naventic had given with this Dragon Knight was enough to scare them out in the transition. But we do have the 7 mark. Kel'Thas, again, is one of the few heroes that will power spike at 13. You want to take fights even anytime, probably either when you finish Mana Addict or then win 13. But you usually don't finish Mana Addict until you hit the later parts of the game.
Yeah, he is only about halfway done with that talent. With the Dragon Knight now out of commission for a little while, teams look to their mercenary camps, specifically No Tomorrow. Team Naventic already grabbed theirs, so they're still on cooldown. With the Bruisers pushing in the top lane, along with Ragnaros. No Tomorrow's going to assist that, getting their own 2. Team's not quite looking toward the neutral camp in the bottom lane, instead just making sure they keep up that lane soak, trying to get heroic abilities, especially No Tomorrow. They are quite far behind Team Naventic.
B-Kid is unknowingly up here with Big Impact. Trees gets the dismount, so let's see if they try and capitalize. He's the only kill target you can really go for. There it goes, and then comes in. I think that's a prime example of the conversation I have often when talking about what does Johanna bring until she gets the Blessed Shield. That was the best initiation she has. Replace that with any other warrior, and that is one dead Kel'Thas.
Just trying to at least make it happen somewhere with the team.
When it works well with a low cooldown heroic, for instance, we've seen SCSC and Noblesse have some of the most insane synergy between Reign of Vengeance and Condemn I've seen in my entire life. And when that happens, she looks like she has a heroic, purely based on the fact that Vala has such dream follow-up in those situations.
Naventic hit heroic abilities, so they say, what would No Tomorrow like to get? Let's get that. And that happens to be No Tomorrow's Giants. No Tomorrow's still a level behind, but climbing fast, at least can get heroic abilities. B-Kid's here again too. This might be different. Here comes B-Kid. Blessed Shield.
Oh, dodged. Well done. That is one of the problems of ganking in a new Barak in the top lane. We talk about with the Falstad trying to move up there and how easy it is for Falstad traditionally to gank on Dragonshire in the top lane. A new Barak, as long as you never use your E offensively, which, let's be honest, there's really no reason to because most of your damage and wave clear is going to be coming out of your Q and your level 4 talent with that bed of barbs.
No Cocoon this time, Locust Swarm for Casanova. And Big Impact's in trouble. Airho jumps along with Barrel Roll. Now he's in the back line. Gust away. Casanova 2 coming back in.
That was a lot of damage. Odin is way out in the middle of nowhere as well, so Urha has to back away. If that CC initiation had happened at the exact same time, there would be an opportunity for No Tomorrow to get that pick on the Big Impact. But once again, you know, things not working in full like synergy, you know, between No Tomorrow. They have all the right ideas, not necessarily the best execution, at least not yet here in this game. We're yet to see the synergy between B-Kid and Zuna yet in a team fight. Both of those heroics are still available, the only available for Naventic. There it goes.
There's going to be one, and the blow up on the bug. New Barak is the first kill in this fight. Team Naventic would love to get more, but No Tomorrow backing off instead. With top shrine already controlled by Team Naventic, Zuna gets into place to take the Dragon Knight.
And this is going to be theirs. It's just unrealistic for Naventic or No Tomorrow to move out and trying to get the delay. And Big Impact going to rotate top, make sure he gets the side soak with the pressure on the bottom. It should be a minimum of a fort for Naventic, but again, Dragon Knights actually scale very slowly. They do bonus damage to structures, but it's still pretty easy to get rid of them, especially if you have a Tychus on your team.
Yeah, Tychus trying to do that. There is a punt instead on Kel'Thas, but meanwhile, Airho and Casanova trying to go after Tomster.
They don't have Locust Swarm, though. Twilight Dream was actually dropped as well. Tiger JK is in a bad spot. Huge gravity lapse, though, onto the flight of Big Impact, so that is going to be the kill. Kenma now is going to be on the retreat. The bed. Oh, my gosh, that Barbs with the follow-up Flame Strike. That's 2 people down.
And all of a sudden, the synergy once again starts happening for No Tomorrow. We'll see if they can continue it, but Zuna loses a lot of this Dragon Knight too. The engagement was so great, knowing that with Ragnaros inside of the Dragon Knight wanting to siege, No Tomorrow could find somebody to kill, and of course, catching Falstad as he flies in.
I mean, that was just insane. It's just so weird that they can just flip on a switch and be like, hey guys, do we want to hit our cooldowns this time? They're like, yeah, that sounds good. You know, it's been a rough couple 8 minutes, we'll figure it out. And just done. Everything turns online at the same time, and suddenly the composition makes a lot more sense. Also, I think that was a prime example of just talking about the weakness of a Dragon Knight in the middle parts of the game. It does do bonus damage to structures, and even then, it's not the most effective map objective in the world, but that means it does less in team fighting outside of the one punt. So once that was dropped and Kilthos was able to rejoin in the fight, it's one of the best times to actually take a fight on Dragonshire if you're on even footing, because this middle Dragon Knight, it's actually half the time smarter to cancel it instantly and then rejoin into the fight and make sure you win it.
Yeah, I've seen MVP be like, oh, hold on, Stormbolt, Big Impact's going to try to barrel roll away and will do so stays alive. I have seen MVP Black lose a game solely because they didn't want to drop Dragon Knight.
Yeah.
And it's hard because you work so hard to get it,
yep.
right? To
All
be
the
able
rotations.
to control both of the shrines, and finally you're like, ah, finally. Sometimes it takes minutes just to be able to get into the right position, team fight upon team fight. But sometimes you just have to forego it, give it up.
Stun lands on to Zuna. Still has the 13 though. There goes the cleanse. Ancestral connects. Jason, too much damage. Twilight Dream actually getting interrupted here. People are melting. 3 for 1. No Tomorrow. Picking a fight that they now are regretting.
Yeah, there was a lot of grouped up on top of Zuna, and he just turned around. Sulfuris smashed Tychus to the face, and 4 for 1 as Rhaegar did go down. But B-Kid's wanting to make it 5. Condemn pulls him in. Big Impact follows up. Still B-Kid trying to stay up. Murden goes down.
Ragnaros looking to capture the shrine up on top. This is going to be another DK here for Naventic. 16 talents here as well. Things are looking great, but taking another glance at this team fight here is just look at that. The collapse on Azuna, the cleanse, the Ancestral was perfect. That Sulfuris smash, so much damage. And then just Garg and Zebo Thompson having a heyday with those spiders.
Yeah, there was a lot grouped up there for No Tomorrow, and the Sulfuris smash turning around. Resilient Flame is still possible, still helps with Zuna. He's there.
It's still a thing.
Yeah.
It's just a thing less consistently, right?
Yes.
So if it's at the very beginning of a fight, you can expect that it will gain value. But if you see it over a longer fight, that it's unrealistic to see him be able to make that happen. So what you actually should do, it's like Spell Shield. You bait it out and then look to reinitiate. Anytime you go into like a double Spell Shield comp as mages, you look to try and, before you could toggle the Spell Shields, just rid of the Spell Shields, and then you're like, all right, they have nothing. We can do full damage, let's battle.
Naventic with the 16 advantage are bringing down 1 fort in mid. Ragnaros trying to siege up the top lane too. Falstad's gonna go help him out with that. No Tomorrow wanting 16. Trying to make sure that they have this constant pressure in all of the lanes. But this is, it feels like the first time that Naventic, especially in the late game, is having and maintaining control.
Yeah, they very much are. And it's hard to gauge whether or not that's a, oh, Casanova is going to be caught out. He already uses Escape Blessed Shield. Sulfuris Smash may be a bit overkill, but they do not care. They are just looking to get the structures here. That means now with that burnt mana added complete and 16 closing in, No Tomorrow should try and force with that the minute that they get 16 in hopes that Sulfuris Smash is not going to be off cooldown yet, because this is on the patch where, in fact, it is an 80-second cooldown.
Yeah, they have to wait for a new Barak to get back. But with Naventic, if they stay up here close... Oh, Chain Bomb? There you go.
16 on KT is a pretty big spike as well, having a double Q. Looking for any other major power spike for these teams. A new Baraka is actually pretty ridiculous. He can be significantly more offensive and it pay off.
Are we giving him the axe?
I don't know in this game. I can see you going into Stone Form to be the main warrior and a new Baraka be a little bit more in the damage control. Because Urho has had problems surviving this game. We're about to find out. Goes Stone Form. So a bit more safe play here. Everyone else with very standard talents. Urho sniffs it out. Blessed Shield used on the Tiger JK, but no follow-up. That is a bad start to a fight here for Naventic. Burrow onto the backline. Kemba getting a lot of pressure there. Twilight Dream was going to be used.
Yeah, but there's an Ice Block too from Tom's, but at the same time, Tiger JK is the one who falls first. Sulfuris Smash gets a second. Third, it goes down with Kael'thas. Urho not going to make it out. Turnaround for Big Impact. And with this kill on Casanova, big impacts there. Full team wipe for Naventic.
And they are having no hesitation here, moving directly onto this bottom keep. See if they can get more out of it. It's going to be a minimum of a keep. It could be game, depending on how much damage and how fast they take it out. Looks like it's going to be it. I can't see a reason not. There's no major cooldowns on the side of No Tomorrow. No Gust, no Void to be able to say nigh here. And this looks like Team Naventic actually found it within themselves to be able to turn around this series and at least take a game here against No Tomorrow.
No Tomorrow takes out Naventic on Battlefield of Eternity. Naventic says, we got you on Dragonshire.
Yeah, both teams losing on their, home territory map. It's really interesting to see that play out. But I do feel like, Naventic is a group of players that would naturally be successful on Dragonshire, like out of all the teams in North America, just because a lot of them are also veterans, which puts them in a position to where we talked about Dragonshire used to be the map of North America for a long while. So we'll see, where this goes ahead from here. If we see a more macro-oriented map, can Naventic be as successful?
For No Tomorrow, it did seem like we talked about it, the cooldowns. Like nothing ever came to fruition for them.
Yeah.
Naventic brought the fight to No Tomorrow a lot. There are a lot of times where Tiger JK was all of a sudden in the middle of the fight, didn't want to be, would drop Twilight Dream, had Ice Block 2, but it just wasn't quite enough. So if Naventic can continue, maybe go back to their roots a little bit. Make sure they're still macroing, keeping up, making sure they have the experience advantage, but start bringing the fight to No Tomorrow so that they can't get these perfect picks.
I think part of it's going to be just landing the CCs.
Yeah.
There was a lot of missed CCs there, which made it that game. I think the early game for Naventic was a lot easier than it should have been, purely just based on the lack of chain follow-up for No Tomorrow. They intentionally picked to be able to have those kills very early on, and if you don't end up getting those at all, it is really going to hurt, and it showed over in the team fighting as well. It wasn't just laning phase.
Yeah, we'll see if No Tomorrow is able to clean up that early game for Game 4. We're headed to a break, but we've got more HGC coming at you after this.
I once ruled Ashur-Nerub. Then came a war I could not win. I was forced into servitude.